trying to show you locally in this region what we're looking at, but my expectations are that they look nationally and tell us what the impact is.
What about summer internships and fellowships for high schoolers? If they get an opportunity at another, state or something like that, sometimes those run like 8 or 9 weeks. And I know that I'm a mentor to many high school students, and it would be
yeah. She was talking about summer internships, and I added that onto my list. And I forgot to say governor school is another one that has come up as a question.
I'm not for that. I would generally say that there are, these are a couple of examples, there are generally enrichment programs, especially for older kids, that just take longer. They take the summer. When it comes to my mind is the summer swimming. That affects probably thousands of kids in Knox County, and that just can't run on a shorter schedule. I would point out that at the high school level, the problem of brain drain during the summer is really in the noise because they're on block scheduling. With block scheduling, kids could go, they always go a semester absent from the class. They sometimes go as much as a year and a half. So the vacillation between 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks off just seems like in the noise for such a potential problem with enrichment activities for the older children.
And I would agree. I think mostly when I hear educators talk about the brain drain or the loss during the summer, they're looking at the elementary level. That's predominantly where we're looking.
The enrichment and remediation part of that, how is this not ever going to be stretching into where little Johnny gets to go to Disney because he was okay in math, but little Sally didn't get it the first time around, so she has to stay. How are those intersection things going to work?
Yeah, one of the questions that is on my list is even can we make remediation mandatory? My guess is that we aren't going to be able to. These will be opportunities during the 2-week intersessions. Likewise, the enrichment. And I've had people ask me, well, is everybody eligible for enrichment? And that's one of the questions I have. And clearly that's going to go back to cost. But I certainly, if we were to go to something like this, I sure would be very vocal in saying if you're offering enrichment to anybody else, you're offering it to Farragut schools too. I mean, those opportunities have to exist for everybody, in my opinion. So I don't know whether it would be, what we don't want ever is to be punitive. And I will say, I don't know if we made it clear in here in those 2 weeks that 1 week would be the enrichment or the remediation. There's always 1 week just off for everybody.
Two questions. One, basically back to what was said here. The U.S. News and World Report ranks Farragut High School as the top 10 in the states. We're the top 5% of the nation. Why are we not looking around the county and saying, why don't we the rest of the county do what Farragut is rather than making Farragut do what others are doing? There's a study that I think sent you the paper on a study of what other school districts have done. It's not actually money. All we're going to see is some theoretical. This could provide, this may provide, this potentially could provide. It's already been done in a lot of the school districts. Houston School District has done it for 3 years. They've said there's no improvement in test scores. Why did that go back to the same question? Why do we want to disrupt something? Not knowing what we're going to get at the end of that. When we're already at the top.
So let me address that. So what he's saying is if Farragut's already at the top and ranked top in our state, why are we trying to address this? And one is that we're looking system-wide. Obviously, we have 90 schools to deal with. Why would we disrupt something when we're not sure? And that's why this question is out there. We talked a little bit about, in 2011, Austin East and Fulton coming before the board with a presentation on going to a balanced calendar or year-round school. It's been brought up every single year I've been on the board, and I will say predominantly it comes from principals who are speaking to teachers. That's where where this idea keeps coming from, at least when I hear it. And I just want the question fully vetted, answered, and decided, so that it's not something that just lingers. So this is the opportunity to get it out there, get all the information that we can, and make a decision rather than play with it every year. Because frankly, if at the end of this process we say we're staying with the traditional calendar, I don't want to spend time talking about balanced calendar next year. The decision will be made. And you know, we do a lot of, let's look at what Farragut's doing and replicate that in other schools. But quite honestly, what we can't replicate is parent involvement. And that is the strongest advantage to our schools here. We have parents who understand that the education that their kids get is the foundation for the rest of their life, and they are committed to it and involved in it. And if we could replicate that, I would do it in a heartbeat. You have a second question?
So, I guess the question, is with respect to it could provide, it may provide, but it's the only words in various presentations. Studies are out there that see references to studies that show that it's going to provide a benefit to our kids. Because everything I've seen so far has been in the hypothetical, it could provide. But all the studies I've seen say it doesn't provide. It's at best a zero.
And if that's true, and he's saying all the studies he's seen have said it does, it's a neutral at best. If that's true, that's what I expect to come back to me in question number 3, as they do the research.
Yeah, two-part, or two questions. The first, your last year, bullet points was financial. Make financial sense to do it. What has Knox County government's input been on going to Valley County?
I think they're in the same place as everybody else. You know, they're right now getting information. I certainly have talked to our district representative, John Schoonmaker. I think they're waiting for the same information that I am.
Knox County Schools is the largest part of Knox County's government budget. It is going to impact it, and we have seen from time to time where it's going to struggle to make the budget.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and I'm just thinking of the last 2 weeks, or we had the 2-week fall, winter break, with the snow and the weather, and then we had spring break. A lot of people were going, why are we doing spring break for a week? We just got off snow. On a 25-10 or 25-15, if that were to happen in that 45-day window of class, that fall break or that winter break would probably disappear.
I will tell you, it's very difficult to take away a planned break. I would assume that we might look to the first week of it, the remediation and enrichment. I also don't know if there's a way out. If we went that way, we want to say, can you not build more days in your February, March area to compensate to have some built-in days? But yeah, that's always a question. You know, we can go years and years and not use a single snow day. The last 2 years we've used all 10. So yeah, it's always an issue.
Karen, first of all, I want to say I was at the last meeting that we had. I had several questions in mind, and I appreciate hearing you say that you want to see the research, because that was the one thing I got out of the meeting, was that there was a lack of research that we were being given or that we could see that would help us indicate what direction we would want to go in our surveys and so forth. And I do want to make a comment on that. I think if you would reflect it back to the full board, that in the future it'd be nice to have that information, if it's going to be posed or thrown out there, to let us look at that, digest that information so that we can give you a good survey. Because I feel like, based on my research looking around the country, as this gentleman here just pointed out, that many of the schools that have tried this option have come back and said, look, the cost was high and the benefit is here or not existent. And that's my concern. I want what's best for our children. That's all. Globally, not any specific group. Overall, I want what's best for our children. If we can afford to pay for better for them, and we can know through the research, as close as we can know that that's a good option to take, I'm all for it, all in for it. But what I've seen so far, and what concerns me, is the research that I've looked at shows that many schools have taken this on to the tune of millions of dollars, because there's increased instructional costs, increased facility maintenance and operation for those extra days, transportation costs and as well as other costs involved. And what are we gonna get in increased performance by our children?